The air in the Marble Palace atrium was a cold whisper, heavy with the scent of ancient oud and the shimmering silence of immense wealth. Zara felt it cling to her modest uniform, a stark contrast to the rough cotton against her skin, a constant reminder of the chasm between her world and this gilded cage. Her hands, though calloused from years of silent work, moved with a practiced gentleness as she adjusted the soft silk throw over Rashid Al-Hamad's legs. He sat in his ornate wheelchair, a figure of fragile dignity, his eyes fixed on the intricate mosaic floor, lost in a labyrinth of private thoughts. Zahra watched him, a familiar ache settling deep in her chest. She saw not the ailing patriarch of the formidable Al-Hamad dynasty, but a man weathered by unspoken burdens, a soul adrift in an ocean of opulent indifference. Her gaze traced the sharp, elegant lines of his face, the faint tremor in his hand that sought no comfort but her steady presence. She knew the weight of his silences, the quiet battles fought behind his discerning eyes. A tendril of golden light, defiant and fleeting, pierced the towering stained glass, painting a transient halo around his silvered hair. For a fleeting moment, the atrium ceased to be a monument to power, transforming into a sacred space, an intimate communion between caregiver and charge. She knelt, carefully repositioning a loose cushion, her headscarf a soft fall of chiffon against her shoulder. The chill of the marble floor seeped through her thin fabric, a dull throb in her knees, yet her focus remained entirely on Rashid. His comfort was her quiet mission, a duty woven into the fabric of her being, a refuge from the clamor of her own anxieties, the persistent whispers of a life lived always on the margins. She smoothed the blanket once more, her touch lingering, a silent offering of solace. He stirred, a soft sigh escaping his lips, and a faint smile touched her own, a mirrored echo of an understanding deeper than words. She felt the subtle shift in the air before she saw her. The scent of jasmine and something undeniably feminine yet sharp with curiosity preceded her gentle approach. A soft, melodic voice broke the fragile calm, a warmth like desert sun on Zara's shoulders. "Why are you sitting here all alone, sweetheart?" The soft words, meant to disarm, instead pricked Zara's composure, a discordant note in the atrium's stillness. Her head, bowed from tending, lifted slowly to meet the figure by Rashid's wheelchair. Tariq Al-Hamad, flawless in a tailored thobe and a keffiyeh edged with gold, cast a long shadow across the mosaic. His presence was a cold draft, snuffing the sunbeam's last warmth. His jaw, resolute, his eyes, obsidian and unyielding, pierced through the saccharine greeting. They belonged to a man used to commanding, to seeing only what suited his narratives. A tremor passed through Rashid, barely perceptible, yet Zara felt it through the hand she held. His grip, feather-light moments before, tightened, an imperceptible signal of distress only she noticed. The air thickened with unspoken judgment. Tariq's gaze slid from his father's fragility to Zara's kneeling form, lingering on her simple uniform against the throw's shimmering silk. The chandelier above refracted light into icy splinters that mirrored the frost in his stare, a glittering emblem of the wealth between them. "Sweetheart indeed," he murmured, the word stripped of warmth, laced with contempt that scraped at Zara's spirit. He stepped closer, each deliberate movement a calculated display of power. "My father is not one to be left unattended, especially by those who might seek undue advantage." The accusation hung heavy, clinging to the oud like a noxious perfume. Zara's breath caught, a silent protest rose, but she remained kneeling, dignity a shield against casual cruelty. She felt Rashid stir again, a low groan, a shallow cough that racked his frail frame, a sound of profound vulnerability. Tariq watched with detached curiosity, as if seeing a staged drama rather than a real struggle. His indifference, a betrayal of duty. He made no move to help his father, eyes fixed on Zara like a predator on prey. The neglect between father and son yawned open, stark against Rashid's discomfort. Pushing aside her indignation, Zara reached for the water glass, offering it to Rashid with gentle care that defied the judgment. He drank slowly. His clouded eyes found hers, a silent plea for understanding passing between them, excluding Tariq's towering scrutiny. The CEO finally spoke, his voice sharp, slicing the tension. "You seem quite comfortable here, Layla. He used her name with deliberate inflection, a weapon to assert dominance. More comfortable, perhaps, than is appropriate for your position. We have rules, traditions, boundaries. He gestured to the opulent atrium, his sweep a silent claim of ownership and superiority. The implication was clear. She had overstepped an invisible line, trespassed into a world not meant for her. Zara rose slowly, headscarf framing her composed, resolute features, quiet strength in every movement. Her gaze met Tariq's directly, an unspoken challenge sparking within. The air hummed with a palpable battle of wills, echoing the palace's ancient stones. The struggle had only just begun. The hum of the battle of wills intensified, a silent symphony playing out amidst the opulent grandeur. Zara felt the weight of Tariq's gaze, a physical pressure that sought to diminish her, to force her back into the shadows from which he believed she had emerged. Yet she stood her ground, her posture unwavering. Her eyes, though soft, held a core of steel. She was not Layla, the woman Tariq sought to condemn, but Zara, a name whispered on the wind, a truth he refused to acknowledge. The palace, with its echoing chambers and cold marble, felt like a cage to her spirit, yet she would not be confined by his preconceived notions. A flicker of defiance ignited within her, a spark against the encroaching darkness of his judgment. She glanced at Rashid, his frail form a silent testament to the gentle care she had always provided, a care that transcended the rigid social strata Tariq so vehemently upheld. The memory of his subtle squeeze on her hand, a moment of shared understanding, fueled her resolve. She was not a threat, but a solace, not an opportunist, but a protector. The intricate patterns of the mosaic floor beneath her feet seemed to swirl, reflecting the complex dance of power and perception unfolding between them. Tariq, misinterpreting her pause as hesitation, pressed his advantage. His voice, a low rumble, filled the space, a calculated attempt to assert his authority. My family's legacy is built on discretion, Layla, on knowing one's place. He took a step closer, his tailored thobe rustling with the movement, the faint scent of his expensive cologne, a jarring note against the ancient oud. Such intimacy with my father is unseemly. It breeds speculation, undermines the very fabric of our household. His words were daggers, each one aimed at the heart of her integrity, at the quiet dignity she had carefully cultivated. Zara felt a tremor of anger, a hot pulse beneath her composure. She wanted to scream her true name, to denounce his cruel misidentification, to shatter the carefully constructed facade of his accusations. But she held her tongue, understanding that a verbal confrontation would only serve to escalate the tension, to play into his narrative of a rebellious servant. Instead, she chose silence, a powerful weapon against his bluster, a testament to her unyielding spirit. Her gaze remained steady, reflecting a quiet strength that defied his attempts to dominate. The air thrummed with unspoken words, with the weight of generations of tradition and expectation pressing down upon them. Rashid, though silent, was a palpable presence. His shallow breaths, the only sound breaking the hushed tension. His eyes, though clouded, held a flicker of awareness, a silent plea for peace amidst the storm. Zara felt a surge of protective instinct, a fierce loyalty to the man who had, in his own way, offered her a refuge. She would not allow Tariq's disdain to diminish the genuine connection she shared with Rashid, a bond forged in quiet moments of care and unspoken understanding. She shifted her weight, a subtle movement that conveyed her resolve. The silence stretched, taut and charged, until it seemed to hum with the electricity of their opposing wills. Tariq's jaw tightened, a muscle twitching in his cheek, a sign that her unwavering silence was unnerving him. He was accustomed to deference, to swift obedience, and her quiet defiance was an unexpected challenge to his carefully constructed world. The opulent atrium, once a symbol of his family's power, now felt like a battleground, the intricate mosaics beneath their feet a silent witness to the silent war being waged. The true struggle, she realized, was not just about her place, but about his perception of control, his need to dominate every facet of his world, even the quiet dignity of a woman named Zara. The initial tension from Layla's quiet defiance lingered in the opulent atrium, but for Tariq, a subtle discord resonated deeper than the marble's cold echoes. His father's frail, firm words, once dismissed as softness, now clawed at his conviction. He replayed the scene, Layla's composed strength countered his aggression, her integrity mirroring his shifting conscience. In the days that followed, he watched her move through the compound with an understated grace that defied his judgments. Her quiet resilience clung like the scent of oud to the palace walls and stirred an unsettling recognition of error, a dawning guilt that gnawed at his certainty. The desire to atone solidified. He approached Layla not as a patriarch, but with tentative professionalism, citing an administrative detail. The vast, unused stretches of land within the compound, once mere assets, appeared anew as a canvas for shared endeavor, a neutral ground for a hesitant alliance. Their initial talks, framed by the cold logic of property management, carried an unspoken undercurrent, a fragile bridge forming between two worlds. The unused lands became more than a topic. They were a fertile space for growth and a nascent partnership. Tariq, navigating humility, found his gaze lingering on Layla's discerning eyes for any sign of acceptance. Their exchanges, awkward at first, softened like desert sand under gentle rain. The rigid parameters of land use gave way to shared visions of purpose. He spoke of irrigation and sustainability, his words now tinged with respect rather than command. Layla offered insights from a deep knowledge of the land, practical wisdom woven with a quiet passion that struck an unfamiliar chord in Tariq. He began to see not only pragmatic benefits, but the beauty of her vision and the transformative power of her dedication. The compound's vastness, once a symbol of his family's dominion, now held the promise of a shared enterprise beyond past conflict. This trust, like a delicate bloom in harsh soil, took root in mutual respect. The air between them, once thick with accusation, cleared into a tentative understanding, almost like a fragile dawn. The seeds of an unexpected alliance, sown amid discussions of fallow ground and neglected resources, promised a harvest richer than material gain, a bounty of shared vision and renewed purpose. Tariq shed the mantle of disdain and felt a lightness, a sense of direction and meaning that had eluded him in gilded halls, a yearning for something more than control. He began to envision not merely functional use of the land, but a deep collaboration that could reshape how they saw each other and the city, proof that connections can blossom from past animosity. The quiet strength he once read as defiance, he now recognized as conviction, a force capable of cultivating gardens and resilient souls. The compound's future, no longer a domain of unilateral decrees, unfurled as a shared journey of collective endeavor and mutual respect. This nascent harmony, fragile yet potent, suggested a path where their combined strengths might forge unexpected change, illuminating possibilities far beyond the palace walls. A new chapter was poised to unfurl, not as a whisper, but as a potent vision taking root in the city's conscience. Layla, spirit alight with purpose, turned her gaze to the neglected Al-Hamad estate, land scarred by indifference, yet holding a promise of rebirth. She saw not barren soil, but a canvas for collective endeavor, a testament to the city's deeper wounds yearning for solace. Before Tariq, who still wore his family's polished veneer, though his resolve was tempered by recent events, Layla painted a vivid tableau. She proposed the Oasis of Hope Community Garden, a sanctuary where the earth would mend fractured spirits and forge unbreakable bonds. Her voice, usually a murmur, now rang with clear conviction as she outlined a space to bring life back to overlooked corners. She envisioned verdant paths winding through plots tended by united hands, a garden that would not only cultivate flora, but nurture human connections. It would be a hub for shared stories, a classroom beneath open skies, a source of sustenance both tangible and spiritual. The neglected soil could become fertile ground for healing rifts, where age-old wisdom met modern understanding. Children would learn the rhythm of seasons, elders share deep-rooted knowledge, families gather to reap what they had sown, fostering collective ownership and shared destiny. This vision sprang from an enduring awareness of humanity's need for connection and purpose, an antidote to isolation born of wealth and modernity. Tariq listened, reserve still etched on his features, yet intrigue stirred beneath his composed exterior. Layla's conviction was palpable. Her words sketched a future that promised more than greenery, a profound, almost mystical rejuvenation. He noted the quiet fire in her eyes, the unwavering belief radiating from her. It contrasted with his calculating world, but held an undeniable allure. resonating with an unspoken truth he was beginning to recognize. He recalled his father Rashid's silent approval of Layla, a subtle endorsement now bearing the weight of generations' wisdom. The patriarch's unspoken faith had been a puzzle. Faced with Layla's passion, Tariq reluctantly acknowledged its foresight. Cautious respect and nascent curiosity replaced his skepticism. He saw not only a project, but a quiet revolution he felt compelled to support. A contemplative pause stretched between them, broken only by the distant hum of the city, before Tariq spoke. His agreement was measured but carried his family's influence, a decisive turn for the estate. He would fund the project, providing the resources to make Layla's vision real. This commitment, offered with solemnity, marked a shift in his sense of legacy, beyond acquisition toward contribution. With formal blessings secured, the first steps began. The chosen site, within what would become the hidden infinity pool oasis, thrummed with new energy. The initial groundbreaking was symbolic, more than turning earth, a collective declaration of beginnings and a promise to unearth truths buried by neglect. The first spade broke ground not with flourish, but with determined resolve, marking a living monument to hope. Each shovelful became an invocation to the soil that this would be a sanctuary of growth and revelation. Cultivation became a metaphor for excavating truth, bringing light to what had been obscured. The landscape shifted, slowly and irrevocably, under hands that believed in its potential, transforming forgotten land into a testament to shared dreams. This emerging oasis, its hidden depths and vitality, mirrored the city's unfolding journey, a gradual awakening to the beauty of collective purpose and the power of a vision made real. From the quiet hum of an emerging aspiration, the oasis asserted itself with tangible vitality. Each tended row and budding sapling testified to its expanding purpose. What began as a hopeful endeavor blossomed into a nexus of communal activity, drawing hearts and hands from every corner of the city. The garden's vibrancy proved irresistible, attracting volunteers eager to contribute labor and spirit. Among them, Amina, the formidable head chef of the Al-Hamad royal compound, traded her gleaming kitchen for rich, yielding earth. Her precision, once devoted to delicate spices and intricate platters, found a new outlet in cultivating seedlings and nurturing fragile herbs. Her presence anchored others. Bakers swapped ovens for beds, architects sketched irrigation, and elders, their hands once busy with textiles, tended ripening fruit. Witnessing Layla's unwavering sincerity and dedication, more joined, drawn by an authentic promise of connection and growth. Their collective spirit wove a verdant tapestry of shared endeavor, knitting disparate lives into a thriving whole. Layla, wrapped in the dignified folds of her luxury jilbab, chosen for practicality and subtle elegance, reflecting her elevated role, embodied a quiet strength that fostered not only flourishing flora, but a profound sense of belonging. She moved through the abundance with gentle authority. Every action was a lesson in perseverance and care. The garden pulsed with an energy both ancient and new, a living testament to human capacity for connection and mutual aid, its verdant heart steady within the urban sprawl. The scent of jasmine mingled with turned earth, a fragrant declaration of life's triumph against the city's arid structures. Not all gazes on this oasis were admiring. From the secluded confines of his opulent world, cold marble and polished steel reflecting his unyielding ambition, Farid al-Khoury, the disgraced magnate, watched with hardened resentment, jaw clenched in silent fury. The verdant growth, communal laughter, Layla's quiet triumph felt like mockery, a searing affront to his ambitions. This very land, alive now with purpose, had once been the cornerstone of his thwarted development plans. Someone else's success where he expected legacy. The garden's radiant defiance reignited the grudge he harbored against the Al-Hamad family, especially Rashid, whose integrity had decisively thwarted him. A venomous desire for vengeance, long dormant beneath civility, stirred within him like a desert storm gathering strength. He saw not a sanctuary but a symbol of diminished power, a constant reminder of what he lost and believed was his. The determination that birthed the oasis was, to Farid, an intolerable challenge, demanding a brutal response to eradicate this irritating emblem of defiance. His gaze, cold and calculated, gleamed with a near unhinged intensity, fixing on the greenery as if it were a mortal enemy. Every leaf, every bloom, every shared moment inside the garden became fuel for his fury, transforming the tranquil oasis in his mind into the battleground of an impending conflict. His mind, a maze of grievances and thwarted aspirations, began to weave a new, more sinister design, to crush not merely a garden, but the spirit it had ignited, and reclaim what he believed was stolen. A simmering current of animosity, long hidden beneath the city's shimmering facade, now erupted with calculated force. Farid al-Khoury, his vendetta a venomous undercurrent, initiated a relentless media campaign, a digital torrent aimed squarely at Layla and the burgeoning oasis of hope. He wielded his considerable influence like a poisoned blade, disseminating insidious rumors that gnawed at Layla's reputation, subtly twisting fragments of her past. Whispers of a fabricated accusation, perhaps a shadowy impropriety or a family scandal rooted in desperate means, were artfully woven into the public discourse, designed to dismantle her credibility brick by painstaking brick. The burgeoning garden, once a symbol of communal aspiration, found itself maliciously rebranded as nothing more than a cynical PR stunt for tainted wealth, a hollow gesture designed to sanitize illicit fortunes. This calculated assault dragged Layla and Tariq into an unforgiving arena, the court of public opinion, a battle for truth where perceptions were meticulously sculpted and reality bent to suit a destructive narrative. This moment, raw and unforgiving, marked the undeniable escalation of their conflict, transforming nascent tensions into a full-blown war for integrity and the very soul of the city. Each article, each online post, each whispered insinuation felt like a physical blow, yet Layla's quiet resolve only deepened, hardening like sun-baked clay. She knew this was more than a personal attack. It was an assault on everything the oasis represented, a direct challenge to the blossoming spirit of shared humanity it had come to embody. The city, accustomed to the glint of steel and the harsh realities of commerce, now found itself drawn into a different kind of spectacle, a moral battle fought with words and reputations, where the stakes were immeasurable. The air itself seemed to crackle with an unspoken tension, a prelude to the storm that had only just begun to gather. The escalating conflict, once a subtle undercurrent, surged with brutal clarity, forcing Layla into a painful reckoning. Farid al-Khoury, relentless in his vendetta, amplified a media onslaught, his poison spreading through the city's digital arteries and hushed conversations. He unearthed fragments of her past, twisting them into a grotesque narrative to dismantle her credibility and the oasis of hope. A fabricated accusation, an act born of impossible circumstances, was ripped from context and weaponized. Veiled insinuations and salacious headlines struck not only at her reputation, but at the fragile trust she had painstakingly built. The air around her thickened with judgment, a suffocating weight threatening the quiet dignity she carried. Beneath the fear and indignation, though, a defiant resolve hardened. This could no longer be met with quiet perseverance alone. She recalled the desperate choices of her youth with searing clarity. Her ailing mother, a dire prognosis, a system offering no mercy. The act had been one of profound, unconditional love, an agonizing necessity, not opportunism. That private wound, a raw scar of sacrifice, was now paraded as proof of deceit. The injustice burned like a molten core beneath her composed exterior, and it forged fiercer determination. Farid would not define her truth or tarnish the sanctuary she had helped cultivate. The garden's quiet hum, once solace, now seemed to urge her toward an unavoidable confrontation. With a quiet urgency that belied her turmoil, Layla sought Tariq. The city's glittering skyline framed his opulent office, a stark backdrop to the human truth she would lay bare. He looked up as she entered. His detached curiosity shifted to dawning concern at the resolve on her face. In the hushed elegance of his space, Layla spoke the full truth, her voice steady despite an inner tremor. She recounted her mother's illness, the impossible choices of a young woman with no recourse, the desperate act of love born of circumstance, not malice. Tariq listened. His rigid posture slowly gave way as her words unfolded, Farid's fabricated narrative unraveling into a vivid, undeniable humanity. His initial suspicions dissolved before Layla's raw honesty and integrity. He no longer saw the opportunist painted by his circles, but a woman of courage forged in adversity. Her resilience and quiet strength stirred something within him, a growing admiration that solidified with each word. The professional distance that had defined their alliance, born of prejudice and class, began to erode, replaced by empathy and a fierce, protective loyalty. Layla's willingness to expose her deepest wound sealed their bond, transforming their partnership from a professional agreement into deeply personal trust. United against Farid's calculated malice, they forged an unbreakable connection in the heart of the city's unfolding drama, a quiet revolution of understanding that irrevocably changed their shared path. The quiet resolve that once defined Layla now burned with fierce intensity, a fire kindled by Farid's venomous campaign. The bond forged with Tariq, tempered by shared vulnerability, had become an anchor, a silent promise of solidarity against the tide of defamation. His presence, once a cold shadow, now felt like a bulwark. His understanding soothed wounds from a relentless past. Layla sensed, deep in her bones, that this struggle went beyond personal vindication. It was about the very soul of the oasis of hope, a sanctuary of shared humanity Farid sought to dismantle with insidious lies. The truth weighed on her, heavy yet invigorating, transforming quiet determination into unshakable will. The city, split between glittering modernity and ancient whispers, trembled with the brewing conflict. Farid's propaganda, at first a faint hum, gained traction, weaving doubt among those who once championed the garden. He painted Layla not as a visionary, but as a manipulative schemer, her compassion a veil for ambition. Whispers in opulent drawing rooms spread to bustling souks. His poison seeped into the city's consciousness. Yet for every voice swayed, another found renewed conviction in Layla's dignity and the garden's visible transformation. The air thickened with unspoken tension, a battle for hearts beneath the desert sun. Tariq, now a resolute ally, moved with calculated grace through corridors of power, countering Farid's assertions. He knew the dance of alliances and betrayals, the balance between perception and agenda. He arranged discreet meetings, presented irrefutable evidence of Layla's integrity, and spoke with conviction that reached those who prized truth. His once detached manner softened into fierce protectiveness, a recognition of the injustice done to a woman who had breathed life into a dying dream. The partnership deepened into genuine respect. Their shared purpose wove an unbreakable thread. Though still scarred, Layla found solace in her community's steadfastness. The children of the oasis, faces alight with faith, tended seedlings. Their laughter countered Farid's cynicism. Elders, wisdom etched in their eyes, reminded her of resilience and the deep roots anchoring her to this ground. Every blooming flower, every thriving plant, every shared meal beneath the date palms affirmed the truth, vibrant refutations of the lies. The garden, once nascent hope, stood as an enduring fortress against encroaching darkness. Tension mounted as Farid prepared a final blow, a grand address, a theatrical denouncement before the city's elite meant to irrevocably tarnish Layla and dismantle the oasis. He believed his fabricated narrative would seal her fate. He underestimated, however, the loyalty of a community united by vision and the quiet strength of a woman who had met adversity with grace. The stage was set not only for a public spectacle, but for a confrontation between truth and deception, light and shadow. The future of the oasis and the city's soul hung precariously, awaiting a moment of revelation. The air, still shimmering after Rashid's unexpected declaration, carried a deceptive calm through the Al-Hamad royal compound. The city's elite, gathered for the summit, shifted from veiled judgment to open admiration for the old patriarch's conviction. Layla, beside Rashid, felt a fragile hope bloom, a brief reprieve from the pressure of Farid's campaign. Beneath polished smiles, a darker current churned. Farid al-Khoury, his face a mask of furious composure, seethed with resentment. Rashid's move, delivered with the weight of generations and moral authority, had not only thwarted Farid's denouncement, but magnified Layla's quiet triumph, exposing his lies before the city's powerful. Public rebuke festered into poisonous resolve. His usually calculating eyes took on an unhinged glint, fixed with terrifying intensity on the oasis of hope, a place he saw as a monument to his diminished power. The city lights that once reflected his influence now seemed to mock him. He retreated, a dark void amid celebration, already spinning a more destructive web. The garden's promise of growth became an unbearable affront, a challenge to his dominion to be extinguished. He pictured seedlings and herbs, painstakingly tended, reduced to ash, a silent, blazing message to those who defied him. A chilling calm settled as he set his plan in motion, a predator moving through the estate's shadows. Later that night, under indifferent stars, a faint flicker began in the garden's main nursery, an ember's breath, a whisper of orange. With a hungry crackle it grew, feeding on dry air and aspirations nurtured within the fragile structure. Flames, like predatory tendrils, erupted, devouring the greenhouse's frame. Thick, acrid smoke billowed upward, a dense column against the pale moon, carrying the sickening scent of burning wood and scorched earth, a brutal inversion of the garden's life-affirming fragrance. The desert rose in its glass dome, once a symbol of resilient beauty, stood silhouetted against the inferno, its survival precarious. Alarms, piercing and urgent, tore through the compound's quiet, a guttural scream shattering the night's false peace. Figures emerged, faces etched with horror, drawn by the malevolent glow painting the sky red. Layla, heart seizing with icy dread, ran toward the inferno, heat a physical blow to her face, acrid smoke clawing at her throat, stealing breath with each gasp. She watched in sickening disbelief as flames consumed the place where new life was cultivated, where countless hopes had taken root. The sight was a searing testament to hatred so unyielding, it sought to annihilate not just a structure, but the spirit of shared humanity it represented. The community, drawn by alarm and red glow, gathered at the perimeter, faces illuminated by destructive light, a collective gasp of anguish rising as whispers were swallowed by the roar. The blaze raged with untamed fury, a cruel mockery of the garden's warmth, its roar counterpoint to the gentle symphony that once filled the oasis. This was no accident. It was deliberate sabotage, a vengeful attempt to silence change and crush the spirit that had dared to flourish in the city's heart. Hope fought to pierce the smoke and flames, a desperate struggle for survival. The charred remains, already cooling into grotesque shapes, would speak a language of profound outrage, an undeniable call for justice in the face of calculated cruelty. The battle, far from over, had been set ablaze, leaving a stark, smoldering question for the light of dawn, a grim promise of the struggle yet to come. The first rays of dawn, usually a blessing over the desert city, exposed a landscape of devastation. Where vibrant green once flourished, now lay skeletal remains, a cruel mockery of life's promise. Smoke clung to the air, mingling with the sweet, scorched scent of earth. Layla stood amid the ruins of the main nursery, her chiffon headscarf pulled tight, her kind eyes tracing the blackened contours of her work. Each twisted beam, each pile of ash, testified to a hatred that sought to annihilate not just a structure, but the spirit of shared humanity it represented. The community's grief, first a murmur, settled into a heavy, silent ache, visible in downturned faces lit by the pale light. They gathered at the perimeter, shock profound, their loyalty to Layla a tangible force against despair. Amina, her warmth replaced by somber resolve, laid a hand on Layla's shoulder, a silent promise of support. Children, usually laughing, clutched salvaged pots, their faces mirroring adult sorrow, yet a spark of defiance glowed, a belief in the garden's spirit. They saw not just destruction, but a wound, a challenge to the roots they had planted, a sacred trust violated. Tariq Al-Hamad arrived, his tailored thobe stark against the desolation, his detached scrutiny replaced by fierce protectiveness. He surveyed the scene, jaw tight, eyes burning with righteous fury. Farid al-Khoury's vindictiveness was horrifyingly clear, an act that transcended business rivalry into calculated cruelty. This was not just an attack on Layla, it was an assault on Rashid's legacy and the values Tariq was beginning to embrace. He knelt, picked up a shard of glass from the desert rose's shattered dome, fragile beauty reduced to fragments, yet still symbolizing resilience. He rose, meeting Layla's gaze. A silent understanding passed between them. His voice, when he spoke, was low and steady, laced with resolve. "This will not stand. Wallahi." It was a vow, a declaration of war against shadows that sought to extinguish their light. He moved with urgent purpose, giving precise instructions to his security, anticipating Farid's next moves, assembling legal resources to expose the truth and seek justice. Calls were made, quiet conversations held, the Al-Hamad legal apparatus set in motion. Samira, the civil rights attorney, was alerted, her sharp mind dissecting the implications and preparing for the battle. Watching Tariq's actions, the community felt a glimmer of hope pierce the gloom, a resurgence of collective spirit. The silence of despair began to fill with determination, a steady drumbeat of defiance. From the smoldering ashes, a united front emerged, its resolve hardened by fire. While destruction had been swift, the enduring power of truth and collective will began to rise, unyielding, to meet the coming dawn. The path ahead would be arduous, but in the face of calculated cruelty, their commitment to justice deepened, transforming outrage into an impenetrable shield. The city, still reeling, began to stir, awakening to the cost of unchecked malice and preparing for a confrontation that would shape its soul and future. The path ahead would be arduous, but in the face of calculated cruelty, their commitment to justice deepened, transforming outrage into an impenetrable shield. The city, still reeling, began to stir, awakening to the cost of unchecked malice and preparing for a confrontation that would shape its soul and future. The air in the Al-Hamad compound, once thick with the scent of burning wood, now carried the heavy aroma of impending conflict, a subtle shift from despair to grim determination. Tariq Al-Hamad, a figure of unwavering resolve, walked through the compound's hushed corridors, his mind a labyrinth of legal strategies and political maneuvering. The desecration of the oasis of hope was not merely an act of arson, it was a declaration of war, a direct challenge to the legacy of his father and the burgeoning spirit of community that Layla embodied. He knew Farid al-Khoury possessed a cunning mind, one capable of weaving intricate webs of deceit, and to dismantle them would require precision, an almost surgical approach to truth. His internal team, usually tasked with corporate acquisitions and intricate financial dealings, was now fully committed to this battle, their usual meticulousness repurposed for a greater cause. Each document reviewed, each witness interviewed, became a brick in the wall of their defense, a testament to their collective resolve. The legal battle lines, once theoretical, now sharpened with every passing hour, cutting deep into the city's consciousness, exposing the undercurrents of power and influence that had long remained hidden. Layla, amidst the grieving community, found her own quiet strength morphing into an unyielding force. The destruction of the nursery had, paradoxically, strengthened her resolve, solidifying her commitment to the garden and its ideals. She moved with a somber grace, her presence a calming anchor for those around her, her eyes reflecting not defeat, but a quiet fire. She spoke to the children, reassuring them that hope, like a resilient seed, could push through scorched earth and bloom anew. Her words, soft yet firm, became a balm for their wounded spirits, a promise of renewal amidst the ashes. Amina remained a steadfast ally, her once gentle demeanor now infused with a fierce protectiveness. She organized support, rallied volunteers, and became a conduit between Layla and the burgeoning legal team, her practical wisdom a counterbalance to the emotional weight of their loss. The community, initially paralyzed by shock, slowly began to stir, their collective grief transforming into a shared purpose, a quiet defiance that echoed Layla's own unshakable will. Yet, even as a united front solidified, a subtle disquiet began to spread within the Al-Hamad family's inner circle. Farid's machinations, though exposed to Tariq, had left lingering tendrils of doubt among some of the less informed, or perhaps less principled associates. Whispers of Layla's past, distorted and amplified, began to resurface, not as outright accusations, but as veiled concerns, insidious questions planted in fertile ground. Tariq, attuned to the subtle shifts in allegiance, noticed the glances, the hesitant pauses, the sudden silences that punctuated conversations. He understood that Farid, in his desperate attempt to undermine Layla, would exploit any weakness, any perceived vulnerability. The legal battle, it became clear, would not only be fought in courtrooms and public forums, but also within the very walls of the Al-Hamad Empire, a silent war of loyalty and perception. The true nature of trust, like a fragile bloom, would be tested under the harsh light of public scrutiny, and the path ahead, though illuminated by justice, remained fraught with unseen perils, a labyrinth of shifting allegiances and hidden agendas. The path ahead, though illuminated by justice, remained fraught with unseen perils, a labyrinth of shifting allegiances and hidden agendas. The legal battle would be fought not only in courtrooms and public forums, but within the walls of the Al-Hamad Empire, a silent war of loyalty and perception, where trust, like a fragile bloom, would be tested under the harsh light of scrutiny. This erosion of solidarity, an insidious campaign of whispers and veiled accusations, threatened to fracture the nascent alliance around Layla, undermining their strength from within. The weight pressed heavily on Tariq, a contrast to the outward resolve he showed the community. He saw Farid's manipulation, sowing discord where unity was needed. Each hesitant glance and hushed conversation in his family marked the reach of Farid's deceit. Layla, aware of the shifting currents, felt strain on the bonds she had nurtured. The children's faith and the elders' support anchored her, yet indirect undertones of suspicion seeped to the edges of her world. Certain Al-Hamad associates who once nodded now averted their gazes or offered hollow pleasantries. This retreat of trust deepened her isolation and reminded her how fragile reputation is under rumor. Despite the unease, her commitment to the oasis of hope remained resolute, a quiet defiance within her. She knew to falter now would be to surrender to the darkness Farid sought, betraying Rashid's memory and the community's dreams. Witnessing Farid's impact, Tariq understood the urgent need to address internal fractures. He called a private family meeting to confront doubt and reaffirm purpose. The opulent Al-Hamad Majlis, usually convivial, was thick with unspoken tension mirroring the city's conflict. Calm yet firm, he presented meticulously gathered evidence exposing Farid's machinations. He laid bare the calculated cruelty, the cynical exploitation of Layla's past, and the intent behind the arson. His words demanded integrity and honored his father Rashid's legacy, who had championed Layla. The desert rose, symbol of fragile resilience, watched silently, its image etched in their minds. Reactions ranged from shock to grudging acceptance as Farid's betrayal sank in. Some, swayed by Tariq's conviction and the facts, shifted allegiance, their suspicion giving way to renewed trust. Others remained skeptical. Ingrained prejudices and notions of hierarchy were hard to dislodge. The meeting became a crucible, testing familial bonds and forcing each to confront biases. Layla, there by Tariq's insistence, watched the dance of power and perception, her heart a mix of weary resolve and cautious hope. She knew this internal battle was as crucial as any courtroom victory. Without Al-Hamad's support, the oasis of hope would remain vulnerable to Farid's machinations. The true fight, she realized, was for the city's soul, a quiet struggle for hearts and minds that would determine the lasting legacy of compassion and community. The true fight, she realized, was for the city's soul, a quiet struggle for hearts and minds that would determine the lasting legacy of compassion and community. A different kind of battle now began within Layla, one that tested the very tenets of the oasis she had so lovingly cultivated. Zara's tearful confession had left an ache in her chest, a wound of betrayed trust that pulsed beneath her outward composure. Yet, as the young woman's raw grief spilled forth, Layla saw not just the deception, but the frightened girl caught in Farid's cunning web, a mere pawn in a game far beyond her comprehension. The harshness of judgment, a familiar echo from her own past, seemed to dissipate in the face of Zara's profound remorse. How could she preach the virtues of healing and growth, of second chances and fertile ground, if she could not embody them herself? The scorched earth of the nursery flashed in her mind, a stark reminder that even devastation could give way to new life. A profound compassion, deeper than her personal pain, stirred within her, a silent recognition that this was the true essence of their mission, a testament to the enduring power of humanity's capacity for grace. She extended her hand, a gesture simple yet weighty with forgiveness, an offering of solace that transcended the bitterness of recent revelations. Zara, her eyes wide with disbelief, met Layla's gaze, a flicker of hope piercing through the fog of her despair. It was a silent pact, a turning point not just for the vulnerable teenager, but for the very trajectory of their arduous legal battle. Moved by Layla's unwavering empathy and her own unbearable guilt, Zara found a courage she did not know she possessed. The words, once trapped by fear, now flowed, a torrent of crucial details about Farid's intricate network of proxies, his hidden financial channels, and the precise timing of his malicious acts. Each revelation was a thread, meticulously unraveling the tapestry of deceit Farid had woven, exposing the full, chilling extent of his manipulation. This act of profound bravery, born from the crucible of betrayal and redemption, became the pivotal turning point, offering vital, irrefutable evidence that significantly contributed to Farid's impending downfall. It was a testament to the fact that light, even in the darkest corners, always found a way to pierce through. The desert rose, in its resilience, had found an unexpected ally. The city, once swayed by the venom of whispers, would now witness the blossoming of truth. Layla watched Zara, seeing in her not just a repentant young woman, but a powerful symbol of growth, a testament to the garden's enduring spirit. The path to justice, though still winding, now felt illuminated by a fierce, quiet certainty. A promise that the spirit of shared humanity would, against all odds, ultimately prevail. The path to justice, though still winding, now felt illuminated by a fierce, quiet certainty, a promise that the spirit of shared humanity would, against all odds, ultimately prevail. The Al-Hamad legal team, now invigorated by Zahra's detailed testimony, moved with a renewed, almost predatory efficiency. Tariq, his demeanor a blend of stern resolve and cautious optimism, orchestrated a strategic offensive. The intricate web of Farid's proxies, once an impenetrable shield, now lay exposed, each thread meticulously documented and prepared for public scrutiny. Samira, the civil rights attorney, her sharp intellect honed by years of battling injustice, crafted a compelling narrative, weaving Zara's poignant confession with the scientific forensics of the nursery fire. She highlighted the stark contrast between Farid's calculated cruelty and Layla's unwavering commitment to community, framing the entire ordeal not just as a property dispute, but as an assault on the city's burgeoning soul. The media, no longer swayed by Farid's manipulative propaganda, began to shift its focus, their headlines echoing the mounting evidence, gradually turning the tide of public opinion. The once whispered doubts about Layla's past now evaporated under the relentless glare of truth, replaced by admiration for her resilience and compassion. Farid al-Khoury, cornered and desperate, saw his carefully constructed empire of lies begin to crumble. The swift, precise legal maneuvers, combined with Zara's unforeseen defection, left him reeling. His opulent office, once a sanctuary of power, now felt like a gilded cage, its walls closing in. The alliances he had cultivated through fear and manipulation began to unravel, each defection a stinging blow to his inflated ego. His public image, once unassailable, tarnished rapidly, his veneer of respectability peeling away to reveal the raw, unbridled malice beneath. He lashed out, his desperation fueling increasingly reckless accusations, further alienating even his most loyal supporters. The city, once a canvas for his grandeur, now saw him as a figure of scorn, a stark reminder of the corrupting influence of unchecked ambition. The oasis of hope, once a mere target, now stood as an enduring symbol of resistance, its verdant growth a vibrant refutation of his destructive intent. Layla, though still bearing the scars of the ordeal, felt a quiet strength bloom within her. The community, a united front against adversity, rallied around her, their collective spirit a fortress against Farid's last desperate attempts to sow discord. The children, their laughter once again echoing through the revitalized garden, tended new seedlings with an almost sacred reverence, their small hands embodying the enduring promise of renewal. Elders, their wisdom a guiding light, shared stories of past struggles and triumphs, reinforcing the deep roots of their collective resilience. The air in the oasis of hope, once thick with the scent of smoke and despair, now carried the fragrant promise of vindication, a testament to the power of unwavering faith in the face of relentless opposition. The impending legal victory felt less like an end, and more like a profound affirmation, a new dawn for the city, where compassion would finally triumph over corruption, and the legacy of a nurtured soul would far outshine the fleeting allure of power. The final confrontation loomed, a defining moment that would not only determine Farid's fate, but etched Layla's quiet perseverance into the very heart of the city's history. The city council chamber hummed with unbearable tension, a crucible where the fate of the oasis of hope and the city's soul would be forged. Every gaze, heavy with anticipation, fixed first on the dais, then shifted to the two figures at the center. Layla, composed and dignified, stood firm, her designer caftan a vivid testament to her unyielding spirit amid sober officialdom. Beside her, a transformed Tariq, impeccably clad in his tailored thobe, offered a silent, unwavering bulwark of support, his presence a stark declaration of newly found allegiance. Behind them, a unified community filled the gallery, faces etched with hope and quiet strength, a formidable, unspoken demand for justice. This was not a procedural vote. It was a reckoning over the values defining their city. Farid al-Khoury's usual veneer of polished arrogance was visibly cracked by strain. He tried to appear composed, but the air around him thickened with accusation. Layla's voice, clear and resonant, cut through the tension as she confronted his corruption with steady gaze. She spoke not with fury, but with the quiet authority of truth, laying bare the network of deceit he had woven. Each precise word chipped away at his edifice of lies, revealing the moral rot beneath. Tariq's presence amplified her resolve. A powerful visual sign of the alliance coalesced against Farid's darkness, proof of empathy and shared purpose steering him to stand fully committed. Samira, the civil rights attorney, rose next, her legal prowess a finely honed blade. With measured words, she presented irrefutable evidence, documented exhibits, and compelling testimony that struck devastating blows to Farid's fragile defense. The chamber shifted from veiled theatrics to an arena of unvarnished truth. Charts and projections illuminated hidden transactions, shell corporations, and clandestine agreements, exposing his machinations in undeniable detail. The soft collective gasps from the gallery marked widespread recognition of systemic betrayal. The silence after each revelation was more damning than any outcry, broken only by rustling papers and the council's low murmurs as they absorbed the shocks. Then Zahra took the stand, youthful face pale but resolute, voice trembling yet steady with hard-won courage. Her testimony, raw and unfiltered, gave a first-hand account of Farid's calculated coercion, the threats and manipulative promises that had entrapped her. She described his cold indifference and cynical exploitation, humanizing the story of a man devoid of conscience. Each word hammered another nail into Farid's coffin. Her remorse, visible in tear-filled eyes, underscored the gravity of her revelations and shattered the last doubts about his guilt. This moment of collective truth, built from legal acumen, personal courage, and community support, became the turning point. The weight of evidence was irrefutable. Farid al-Khoury's cultivated public image crumbled into dust, bearing malice and avarice. Council members, their faces mixing grave thought and dawning understanding, exchanged solemn glances, visibly swayed by facts and moral imperative. The vote, when it came, was resounding. The garden's future secured not just as land, but as a cherished sanctuary, a vital artery in the city's heart. The verdict validated Layla's integrity. Her journey from vilification to public vindication culminated in this recognition. A collective, quiet exhalation of relief filled the chamber, the suffocating tension dissolving into soft, fragrant air. Sunlight cut long, golden shafts through high, arched windows, illuminating determined faces, a silent promise of light against the retreating shadows. The path ahead, still challenging, now seemed clear, paved by honesty and fortified by unity, ready for a new, radiant era. The unanimous decision resonated through the council chambers, a collective exhalation of relief echoing among the supporters gathered there. A palpable wave of elation washed over the faces previously etched with worry, tears of joy sparkling in eyes that had witnessed too many struggles. The mayor's gavel striking the wood sealed the fate of the cherished green space, officially declaring the Oasis of Hope Community Garden a protected landmark for perpetuity. This monumental declaration marked not merely the end of a protracted battle, but the dawn of a new era for the neighborhood, a testament to their unwavering spirit and collective will. The weight of uncertainty, which had pressed down upon their lives for so long, lifted with a lightness that felt almost ethereal. A profound sense of earned peace began to settle over the community. a gentle balm after the relentless intensity of their fight. The garden itself, now bathed in the soft morning light, seemed to absorb this tranquility, its vibrant foliage shimmering with a newfound serenity. Overhead, the persistent overcast sky, which had mirrored their anxieties, gradually began to yield. First, a thin sliver of brilliant light pierced through the heavy gray. Then slowly, majestically, the clouds parted further. Shafts of golden sunlight cascaded down, illuminating every dew-kissed leaf, every blossoming flower, and the intricate pathways winding through the flourishing plots. This recurring image of the sun breaking through clouds, once a hopeful metaphor, now manifested as a tangible reality, bathing the thriving garden in a warm, resplendent glow. It was more than just a beautiful sight. It was a potent symbol, understood instinctively by every resident who gazed upon it. The radiant light represented clarity, finally cutting through the obfuscation and deceit that had clouded their cause. It signified justice, long awaited and hard won, now shining brightly upon their righteous endeavor. And most profoundly, it symbolized the illumination of hidden truths, revealing the purity of their intentions against the shadows of corporate greed. In the immediate aftermath of this profound triumph, a quiet celebration began to unfold, not with raucous revelry, but with a deep, communal gratitude, a shared understanding of what they had achieved together. Children, oblivious to the political machinations but acutely aware of their green sanctuary's peril, returned to their games among the trellises, their laughter now unrestrained and carefree. Elders sat on benches, simply absorbing the warmth of the sun and the verdant beauty surrounding them, their faces softened by contentment. Conversations flowed easily, filled with plans for future plantings, new community projects, and the enduring legacy they had secured for generations to come. The air was imbued with a quiet hum of renewed hope, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of blossoms and freshly turned earth, mingling with the sweet aroma of victory. Each birdsong seemed a melodic affirmation, each rustle of leaves a whispered promise of continued growth and prosperity. This was not an end, but a glorious beginning, a vibrant testament to unity, resilience, and the power of a community's heart. The oasis of hope was not just saved, it was reborn, more precious and meaningful than ever before, its future now as boundless as the clear sky above. The city, still bathed in the gentle, revelatory light of dawn, began to embrace the unfolding chapter, a landscape now shaped by collective will and a nascent, profound understanding. Within the Al-Hamad royal compound, a different kind of peace began to settle, one woven with the threads of triumph and the quiet certainty of purpose. Rashid Al-Hamad, seated in a sun-drenched alcove overlooking the now secure oasis of hope, felt the lingering echoes of the council's decree resonate deep within his weary bones. His eyes, though still clouded by age, held a renewed luminescence, a reflection of the profound vindication that had finally graced his twilight years. He watched Layla, her figure serene against the verdant expanse, interacting with the bustling community, her quiet strength a palpable force. He had witnessed the transformation not only of the garden, but of the city's soul and of his own son, Tariq. A gentle smile touched his lips, a profound gratitude blooming in his chest, a feeling far richer than any material legacy. He had known, with an unwavering conviction, that Layla's spirit was the fertile ground upon which true prosperity could flourish, a truth he had quietly championed from the confines of his opulent world. He beckoned her closer, his frail hand, etched with the wisdom of countless seasons, reaching out with a tender earnestness. Layla, sensing the subtle shift in his demeanor, knelt beside his wheelchair, her headscarf a soft fall against her shoulder. His grip, surprisingly firm, rested gently upon her arm, a feather-light touch that conveyed a universe of unspoken words. His gaze, clear and unwavering, met hers, and in their depths, she saw not just a patriarch, but a kindred spirit, a man who had understood the language of growth and enduring hope. He whispered, his voice thin but resonant with emotion, a single word of profound appreciation that settled deep within her heart. It was a benediction, a recognition of her unwavering integrity, a silent acknowledgement of the shared journey that had brought them to this peaceful harbor. She felt a warmth spread through her, a quiet acceptance of the burden and the blessing of his trust. In the days that followed, The garden, now vibrant and thriving, seemed to hum with a newfound energy, each blooming flower a testament to the life-affirming spirit that permeated its very soil. Rashid's presence, though increasingly fragile, remained a beacon of serene contentment. He spent his final hours gazing upon the flourishing oasis, a tranquil smile gracing his lips, his spirit finding repose amidst the verdant embrace of the place he had so deeply cherished. He passed away peacefully, like a gentle breeze fading into the vast desert night, his last breath a soft sigh carried on the fragrant air. His burial within the protected grounds of the Oasis of Hope Community Garden became a poignant symbol, a profound testament to the enduring theme of legacy, underscoring the powerful impact of human connection and purpose over the fleeting allure of transient wealth. The earth, still warm from the desert sun, received him, folding him into the heart of the oasis, forever intertwining his memory with the flourishing life he had helped to secure. It offered a tender, melancholic resolution to his dignified journey, his quiet strength now woven into the very fabric of the flourishing oasis, a silent guardian watching over the collective dream he had believed in. The city, having witnessed the triumphant blossoming of the garden, also bore witness to the profound, quiet grace of an ending, a reminder that even in loss, there was a deepening of purpose, a quiet continuum of life, and a renewed understanding of what truly endures. His spirit, now free, was absorbed into the essence of the place, a whisper of wisdom carried on the wind through the rustling leaves. The gentle whispers of wisdom that had filled the oasis of hope in Rashid's final moments matured into a steady hum, spreading through the verdant spaces as seasons wove their tapestry across the resilient land. The tender shoots of the community garden had deepened their roots, anchoring a sprawling network of life and learning that reached far beyond its beginnings. Layla, her spirit and enduring force, moved through these grounds not merely as director but as a revered presence, a living testament to compassionate dedication. The once modest plot had blossomed beyond imagining, embracing not only the earth's bounty, but the boundless potential of human connection. A vibrant youth program thrived where weeds once choked soil, its joyous energy cultivating young minds and the earth beneath their hands. Laughter spilled from the community center, its walls echoing shared stories, quiet study, and the comforting rhythm of collective work, offering solace and purpose to all who entered. Layla walked the paths daily, her steps a meditative cadence against sun-warmed earth, each circuit a communion with the legacy she had helped forge. Her hands, etched by hours in nourishing soil, kept an almost ethereal gentleness as she tended each plant with the same meticulous care she once offered Rashid. She often paused by a newly blossomed rose, tracing its petals, lost in quiet reflection on the journey from glaring misunderstanding to the clarity of lasting purpose. The desert sun cast long shadows across the flourishing expanse, each ray a reminder of the light that followed the darkest storms. This perspective, woven into the oasis, underscored the deep, persistent nature of the transformations that had taken root. Layla's devotion had not only cultivated land, but reshaped the heart of the community, fostering a resilient spirit that blossomed despite memory's lingering shadows. The garden, a tapestry of intertwined lives and convictions, pulsed with quiet strength, a breathing monument to the collective will of those who had believed. It stood as proof that true legacies are not forged by steel or gold, but nurtured with perseverance, watered with truth, and cultivated in the shared soil of humanity. Every rustle of leaves, every bloom, every understanding smile affirmed the quiet revolution that transformed skepticism into collective faith. The air hummed with a promise of growth, a symphony of shared purpose, inviting those seeking solace, belonging, or a second chance to find a place within its embrace. Some battles, fought with dignity and grace, can reshape a world, leaving marks that time deepens rather than erases. This was not merely a garden, it was a living philosophy, an unfolding future, a manifestation of sustained hope. Rooted in the city's heart, the oasis cast a light that reached beyond its sheltering walls, a clear, insistent truth finally finding voice amid the modern clamor. From that quiet, profound whisper, a new chapter unfurled across the city, its pages not with grand pronouncements, but with steady, verdant growth that redefined its soul. The oasis of hope, born from a singular vision, pulsed as the heart of a shared possibility, forging bonds deeper than any infrastructure. Children, eyes bright with inherited purpose, learned the Earth's old secrets alongside modern sustainability, small hands tending rows of medicinal herbs and budding flora. Scattered energies converged into joyful communal labor, a living testament to Layla's daily cultivation and nature's tireless devotion. Elders, faces mapped by desert sun and memory, found renewed vitality sharing stories beneath flourishing date palms, their voices weaving resilience into the community's living archive. Gatherings that once whispered against the roar of modern life swelled into vibrant forums for heritage, breathing life into forgotten customs and ensuring continuity.
The oasis's influence reached beyond its green borders, rooting through the urban fabric like a resilient tree, reshaping the city's aesthetic and ethics. Local artisans, inspired by the garden's resourcefulness, crafted works from sustainable materials, their workshops extensions of the oasis's philosophy. Chefs turned from global fads to indigenous ingredients, igniting a culinary movement drawn from community plots and the garden's bounty. Public spaces and new architecture embraced green design, echoing Layla's sanctuary and a quiet revolution of planning. The victory over Farid's malice became more than a triumph. It recalibrated prosperity. Wealth was no longer measured by transient assets or glass towers, but by human connection, collective health, and lives nurtured under the benevolent sun. This current flowed unseen yet powerful, a counter-narrative to material grandeur, reminding all of enduring, sustaining values. Layla remained a figure of humble grace, revered not only as guardian, but as the garden's living principle, integrity in action and quiet resolve. People sought her counsel for the simple, profound truths she embodied. Her presence, a calming anchor in a once turbulent city, radiated reassurance that compassion and integrity, like a desert bloom, could thrive in harsh places. The shimmering skyline, once at odds with her world, now acknowledged the oasis's soft glow, coexisting in newfound harmony and recognizing deeper abundance. The air felt lighter, perfumed with the promise of growth, a silent symphony of life continuing its delicate crescendo. It was an invitation to witness the steady blossoming of a collective dream, rooted in compassion and cultivated with hope. Rashid's quiet trust and Tariq's eventual understanding echoed through the city's hum, reminding everyone that true transformation is ongoing. The seeds sown amid adversity had taken root, their tendrils reaching into every facet of urban life and identity. The future, unwritten yet promising, hinted at sustained purpose, a testament to the quiet power of hands and hearts that nurture. The garden, now indispensable, stood as a living monument to the truth that legacies are built on shared humanity, its light an enduring beacon against encroaching shadows, weaving new narratives into the city's soul. The horizon, subtly transformed, beckoned with the promise of endless cultivation and a fertile future.